Good evening, everyone. Well, if you're in the UK, it's evening. If you're in the US, I'm guessing it's afternoon or even morning. And then if you're down under, then that's going to be tomorrow. So happy tomorrow for all of those down under. All right, guys. So this is part 2 of what I've called Everyone is Still a Suspect, in the words of Sheriff Ronnie Lawson. But it's kind of, suspects are only the beginning of this. What I'm doing is building up a whole set of information about theories, motives, and trying to kind of tie suspects into certain scenarios. So if you missed yesterday, we did quite a lot of that yesterday. We did the suspects. I'm going to go through it quickly to recap for those who missed yesterday, so don't worry. But it's a brainstorming thing, and it is going to run over into a part 3 because I'm going to keep each of these reasonably short, like less than 2 hours, so that they're watchable for people on the replay. Because I do want people who can't get to these lives to actually watch these, because it's going to be a lot of information, and I think it will be useful to look back on, you know, if the case progresses, or even if people want to go, you know, let's say in 6 months' time and there's still nothing, if people want to review it all again and go back and see what they can add and stuff like that. So I do want these to be watchable, and that's why I'm going to keep it under 2 hours, and I'm going to come back tomorrow. So I think we'll get quite a lot done today, but I don't want to just go on and on and on and on. Let's see who's in the house, though. Holly, Linda, 4 a.m. in Australia. Oh, wow. Aussie TV is going to be a replayer. Good stuff. Debbie, 2 a.m. in Australia. Khaleesi Girl, Deborah, Sherba, Elise, who's finishing off some work and then's coming. JD, Burlington Park. Oh, Khaleesi Girl, got a question here. Does anyone think the police are holding off arrests of Candice and Don till the boys officially removed from Wells' parental rights? I don't think so. I don't think they'd need to, because the CPS case, the boys being taken into CPS care, that's one issue. And then the police investigation into Summer's disappearance is a completely different case. Now, obviously, if arrests were to be made against members of the family, the boys would be witnesses. So, yes, the boys' case and Summer's case do kind of bleed into each other. And Detective John Pruitt said that. They do bleed into each other. However, if they had probable cause for an arrest, they'd make that arrest. I'm sure they would. The only time possibly that there would be a change would be, let's say, for example, once the boys knew officially that they were never going back to Don and Candice, that they changed their story. And then if they changed their story, implicating Candice or Dawn or Grandma, and that was that key piece of evidence, that would feed into a probable cause affidavit for an arrest. But as it stands, if the boys have maintained their story throughout, if they've told their truth throughout, then no, I don't think so. That's just my opinion, though. Burlington Park, Sherry, I can never say her name. I want Heart to Touch. Please like this video. Yes, please do. It helps with the algorithm. Gaeva, Jackie, Lorraine, Serial Boomer, Steph. Who else have we got? Shelley, CJ, Membership goes towards dog treats. Well, we go through a lot of dog treats. I've got to tell you, we go through a lot of dog treats. Oh, I got some dog treats sent me from Tennessee. If you're in the chat, my dogs went absolutely mad for those treats. They're called pupperonis, and you can't get them in the UK, so they'd never had them before. They went absolutely mad for them. So I'm glad that you sent me it was a big chunky thing. There was lots in there, but they've just finished them. So they're disappointed now because I can't get them in the UK, or else I'd buy them in bulk. But yeah, they loved them. Absolutely love them. JL, Moon Shadow, Fly on the Wall, Broken Goth Doll. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Mason, Gypsy Girl, and lots of other people who I'm not gonna do the roll call forever. Oh, my son's just come in. All right, alrighty. Oh, are they dead like popular in the US? Pepperonis. They smell great, and I didn't like the smell, but anyway, yeah, they went mad for them. Hey, thank you, Tracy, for the $5. Thank you. All right, let's get into this then. Okay. Just wait for my son to go in his room. Yes, Rod Hull did fall off his roof. We talked about Rod Hull yesterday, actually. We talked about him yesterday. Rod Hull fell off his roof. He absolutely did. Oh, and another $4.99 from Jessie. Thank you, Jessie. That's very kind, and that's in my currency. Your dog loves all stinky stuff. Dogs do, don't they? Yeah, that's along the lines of what I think happened. Yeah, that's what I think happened. But what we're doing today is we are brainstorming. So it's not what I think, it's what all of you think. And that's why we ended up with so many variations. So we're going to get into it. Right now. But this is Summer. She's been missing now for almost 2 years. She went missing on the afternoon of June 15th, 2021. And at the time of her disappearance, she was 5 years old. She went missing from outside of her home in the Beech Creek community of Hawkins County, Tennessee. She's a girl. She's white. She's got blonde hair and blue eyes. She's 3 feet tall, approximately 40 pounds. And the Amber Alert is still active. And according to the TBI, the Amber Alert will remain active until she is located. So they're not going to take the Amber Alert away. So the Amber Alert still stands for however long it takes for us to get answers. Do I have milk bones in the UK? I don't think we do. No, I don't think we do. Okay. All right. So what we did yesterday, what we started off doing is putting together a list of suspects. And I was surprised about how many different names you all implicated. So again, this is completely, it's just brainstorming. And don't need my camera on now, do I really? It's just a brainstorming session. It's a study session. So if you happen to view this at some point in the future and your name is on this list, right? It's what people are thinking. It's what people are saying. It's people's opinions. And that is all. All right. We're not saying that anybody definitely did it because we don't know. And that's the reason why I think exercises like this are really, really important, because we don't know. We don't know what happened to Summer. And until law enforcement officially clear people, well, everybody's still a suspect, because that's what Sheriff Ronnie Lawson said. Everybody's a suspect. Everyone in Summer's life. However, I guess, however vague that relationship, everybody's still a suspect. So if law enforcement want to help us out and clear, just come out and say, right, you guys who are making all these theories up, well, stop it with this person, this person, this person, this person, because they've been thoroughly checked out and they're innocent. They're not a suspect. They've been cleared. That would be great. That would be absolutely great. It would be fantastic. Very helpful if they would do that. But until they do, then we have such a big long list. How's my cousin? He's on the mend. He's not required surgery. He's been at home now for, well, they let him out of hospital like the day after. So, yeah, he's on the mend, and there's a police investigation. Okay, so before I'll read this list, and then if anybody wants to add to it who wasn't here yesterday, if you don't see a name on this list and you want to add to it, we can do. But I'll show you what I've done. I've taken the liberty of just tidying up the whole thing. So I've split the suspects list over 2 because there were so many. And then we started to talk about the theories. And we started with accident cover-up. So we're going to carry on with that. But then we have also got sold or trafficked, abduction, murder and manslaughter, wandered off and got lost. So that could include accident, but accident not involving a human, or an accident involving an attack that's not a human attack. An accident, I guess an animal attack isn't an accident, but anything that happened after she wandered off, right, goes in there. And then given away or hidden for her safety. And oh, you have got milk. We do have milk bones in the UK. Oh, okay. We all want that to be the truth. We all want that to have happened, because it means that Summer is alive and well somewhere in the world. If someone kidnapped her, though, to give her a good life, it's still kidnap. They could still face charges, because you can't just take the law into your own hands and take someone's kid. So there would still be criminal charges if the cops chose to charge that person. But that's best case scenario, isn't it? So those are the theories we came up with, and we can add to them. So if you've got a theory that doesn't involve any of these, accident cover-up, and we're going to go through all the specifics that could come under accident cover-up. We're going to we're going to look at the scenarios that could have happened in soul trafficked, and likewise for all of these. And of course, I've put these together on the same slide because I think these kind of bleed into each other. Because if she was abducted, there's a high chance that she was murdered by the abductor. There's a high chance of it, unless it involved being abducted to be hidden for her safety. So these things do overlap. So you might think that 2 of these or even 3 of these happened. Like she wandered off, she got abducted, and then she was murdered. So, but splitting them up like this and looking at it a little bit at a time, I think adds a lot of clarity. It makes us think through how that could have happened. And doing exercises like this, by looking at the suspects, looking at the theories, and looking at the scenarios, you're breaking it all down. And then you can kind of think, well, all right, how likely is that to have happened? And what is the motive for that to have happened? So you're focusing on the why it might have happened. You're focusing on who might have done it. And you're focusing on how it might have been done. Those are the 3 important things of any investigation. you think, why? What is the motive for this child to have just gone missing? What is the motive for it? Who might have done it? Who has the motive for that? And then how might it have been conducted? So at the end of all of this, at the end of tomorrow, hopefully, we're going to have a lot of information that can be used in the future, by not just by me, but by anybody. And anybody, if you're a creator, you're very welcome to take clips from this. You're very welcome to take the information, take screenshots. This is for everybody to share, right? As long as you credit me as a source. I take other people's information and clip it and talk about it. And I always credit them with that information, obviously. But I think that we all should be working like that. It doesn't matter whether you're a big channel, a small channel. We should all be helping each other. So if you're a creator and you're finding this useful, then feel free to clip, feel free to screenshot, and just disseminate the information to your own community. Just put a link to this video in your description. That's all I require. Okay, so let's just do a quick read of these. And then if there's any that you think should be on this list of suspects, then put it in the chat. So Candice, Grandma Don, obviously they're on the suspect list because they live with Summer. Then we've got Jodie Sue, Andy, Jodie Sue's son. Now they were probably the closest neighbours to Summer at the time. Don Sherfy Jr., Fred Hill, who also lived on Ben Hill. So Fred Hill's close. I personally don't think Fred's a suspect, but a lot of people do. So personally, I don't think many of these people are suspects, but it's for everybody. This is like a community project. Okay. All right. Frank Light, local RSO, lives 8 minutes away. Hunter, Blue Roof Don, also a neighbour. Jose, Andrew Hiltz, that's Hunter's dad. Billy Dishner, he's a local person. The Tree Trimmers. So we don't know the Tree Trimmers' names. We've never been informed who these Tree Trimmers are. So Tree Trimmers have been spoken to, though. Law enforcement tells us, it's on the TBI newsroom, tells us that everybody working in the area that day has been spoken to. So, but nobody's been cleared. They just said they've spoken to them. Nobody's been cleared. David Dotson and Robin Lane, those are from the church. They went to 110 Ben Hill once Candice had told them that Summer had gone missing. Tim Mullen, Wild Bill Drinnan, who's another local guy. Brandon Lawson, who's the RSO son of Sheriff Ronnie Lawson. An unnamed drug dealer. So somebody in the Wells sphere of the world somewhere, but somebody that we don't know the name of. All right. Marlena Crawford, whose little girl was Summer's friend. Ricky Crawford. Now, there's two Ricky Crawfords, so we've got to remember that. At the time Summer disappeared, there are two Ricky Crawfords. There was Ricky Crawford Sr., who's Marlena's dad, who has subsequently died of natural causes. And then there's Ricky Crawford Jr., who's currently in jail, but I don't think he was in jail on the day Summer disappeared. So Ricky Crawford Jr. is Marlena's brother. Dudley, so the guy that Don fired the day before Summer went missing. Can anyone see the screen? Yes. You should be able to see the screen. I'm watching what you're watching on my other computer, and I can see the screen. So you may need to turn your brightness up or something. It's a bit blurry. Change your resolution. If you go into the little settings thing and change your resolution, that should help. Sometimes YouTube will change your resolution, like just weirdly. It looks fine on mine, but that's generally what you need to do. Okay. All right, where were we? Tony Hammonds, another local guy. Now, I took the liberty of adding this because we did talk about this yesterday, but for whatever reason, I just didn't put it on the list. But an unnamed delivery driver, so like a mailman or a Amazon driver or a UPS, FedEx, a delivery driver, right? And we know there was at least one of them in the area, because it was somebody working in the area who reported seeing the red or maroon Toyota Tacoma. So we do know there was at least one delivery or worker who travels around that area regularly. So probably a male person, a UPS driver, whatever. We do know that there was someone. I'm not saying that person who reported the Toyota Tacoma kidnapped someone. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that we do know that there was delivery people out there on that day. Clester Taylor, she's a relative by marriage of the Crawfords, and her husband, Earl Taylor, was found dead in a creek the day after Summer disappeared. They all know each other. They're all relatives. Wayne Morlock, he's a new name that has come up recently. Candice has talked about him recently. He looks a scary dude. He looks a scary, scary dude. Ali, Hunter's mother. A cornbread mafia-like organisation. So basically an organised crime stroke drug trafficking syndicate. So I'm not saying the cornbread mafia. The cornbread mafia came up. It was the behaviour panel that used cornbread mafia, but I don't think they were actually implicating the cornbread mafia. I think they were using that as an example. So I'll use it as an example. Richard Tucker, who was Don's boss. Pam Wells, who is Don Wells' ex-wife. Brad Wishen, who used to be a YouTuber known as 423 Chase. Billy Benton, who's another local person that Don's talked about recently. Ronnie Lawson himself, the sheriff. Bradley Hayes, who is an RSO, I believe, and who is a tattoo person who did Jodie Sue's tattoo. I said Candice yesterday, and then I corrected it because it was Jodie Sue who had the tattoo. Was it the day or the 2 days before Summer disappeared? Don's sister, Sonia. Crystal Spencer, who is a local person, a friend of Candice, an ex-friend of Candice, and then the older adult siblings of the Wells. So they've got 2 adult siblings on Don's side, and then they've got 2 adult siblings on Candice's side. So we're not naming them. We're just saying that there are adult siblings who were brought up yesterday. Cornbread Mafia is a band. It is actually. They used to like trade weed. Cornbread Mafia is a thing. I think they've retired now. I don't think the Cornbread Mafia steal children. But a mafia-like organisation. Like Don has implicated the Mexican cartel. You know, Don has talked about the Mexican mafia. So we could probably put Mexican mafia-like organization. The chicken head mafia. It's as good as gone. Oh dear. It's a lot of suspects. I didn't realize that we were gonna get so many names. But if these are if you think that, you know, one of these could be the person, then, you know, let's be thorough. Don has implicated everyone. He absolutely has. He absolutely has. Absolutely has. Don's probably named like half of these himself. Ali and family. We've got Ali. Ali's there. And we've got Hunter on the other. Like Hunter came up. These were just in the order that they came up. But we kind of put all the local close people like people who are close to Summer on that day. So people who will actually live with Summer are the closest, and then the neighbours are the next closest. Are there any RSOs at the SDA church? I don't know. I can get an RSO list, but I don't know if any of them go to the SDA church. The RSO list is a public document, publicly available information, but it doesn't tell you what church they're affiliated with. So Don talked about a motorcycle gang. Isn't that the Chicken Head Mafia? I don't know. Don's talked about a lot of people. The guy who suddenly showed up on Ben Hill Road the day before Summer went missing and left town the morning after she went missing. Oh, that's, you're talking about Jackie Dobbs. Jackie Dobbs was there for an absolutely legitimate reason and was chased away. The reason why I've not got Jackie Dobbs on here is I truly, truly believe Jackie is innocent. I truly believe he's innocent. His son used to be in my Facebook group. I don't know whether he still is. But Jackie's gone through a whole heap of hell. Like, he turned up on the 14th, having bought 2 acres of land legitimately, and then was chased away from his own land by Jodie, Sue and Andy, who then spent the evening after he'd left, like looking around all the hollers to check that he'd gone. In Jodie Sue's own words, that's what they did. And Andy has said that that's what they did. And on the 15th, he was staying in a motel. And that motel has surveillance. And I truly believe Jackie was just an innocent person at the wrong place at the wrong time. Of all of these people, I think Jackie is the most innocent. Like, the one who I cannot consider a suspect. I simply can't. He was an innocent bystander, yeah. Whereas these, obviously, you know, the majority of these people, maybe all of these people, turn out to be innocent. It might be that there are no suspects on this list that turn out to be the one that law enforcement eventually arrests. There might be somebody completely out of left field that they eventually arrest. We don't know, because we don't know what we don't know. But at the same time, you know, we've got to look at the information we do have. And while there's, you know, no evidence one way or another for a certain person, but you have an inkling, or you have a suspicion, or you have what wouldn't be, from a legal standpoint, wouldn't be considered evidence, but might be a place to start, then let's put them on the list. Should the Bernards or other money influencers in this town be on the list? Andy's on the list. Do you think that his other family members should be on the list as well? But Andy's on the list. I'll put his surname on so we're clear. Who is Candice's dealer? According to Hunter, Andy is. And then Andy has admitted that he sold weed to them. So Andy was their dealer, at least for weed, allegedly. Jackie Dobbs should sue the realtor who sold him that piece of hillside. Well, I guess it's, you know, sold a scene. If you don't go and view it before you exchange your money, then I guess, I don't know. I guess it's your lookout. But those pictures on that, if you've ever looked at it, I don't know whether it's still online, but it was online for quite a while. If you look at it and you look at the pictures, it does look flat. It looks like they've gone on to like probably Geordie Sue's land and taken a photograph from there. It doesn't look like it's a steep, 2 acres of really steep embankment that you wouldn't be able to build on. Yeah, there probably is more than one dealer. Yeah. And Don goes to Knoxville. Like, Don gets drugs himself. Again, from his own words, Don has said that. Andy's Geordie Sue's boyfriend. Her partner, the father of her 2 children, they split up soon after Summer disappeared. So they've not been together for, well, nearly 2 years. But at the time Summer disappeared, Andy and Geordie Sue and their 2 children, one of whom was an adult at the age of 19, and one was a young teenager. She's still quite young. I think is she 14 now, 14 or 15 now? Ali is on the list. She's there. I just put these in order that they came up. What did happen to Rose? Chances are she was murdered. Rose Bly. But yeah, so they lived at 125 Ben Hill Road, which is literally just across the road. So the Wells live at 110, which is like on one kind of hill. And then you've got Ben Hill Road, and then you've got like another hill. And Geordie Sue, Andy, and their 2 kids lived there. But the 125 is owned by Andy's mother. So they were living in Andy's mother's property. No, Jackie Dobbs had a blue truck. It's a blue truck that was pictured. I mean, again, I don't even know whether that was Jackie's truck. But soon after Summer disappeared, when everybody was blaming Jackie Dobbs, there was this picture of this blue truck that did the rounds, and supposedly that was Jackie Dobbs' truck. But I don't know if that's true or not. It is very sad about Rose, but it's very, very different circumstance. Very different circumstance. All right, let's get on to the theories then. So we started with accident cover-up because it's the one that's got so many different possible things that could have happened. Rona, thank you for the $9.99. Thank you. It's very kind of you. If you watch Pruitt's interview, he seems put out with all the other law enforcement involved. Does he? Do you think so? I've not watched it for a while. Okay. All right. So personally, accident cover-up for me isn't my top theory, because what we've got to think about when we think about, I mean, accidents happen. Of course they do. Accidents can happen to anybody. Accidents can happen to somebody who is the strongest runner, the strongest swimmer, who's done the same thing over and over again for the last 20 years, who's driven a car for the last 30 years and never had an accident, and then suddenly they're in a multi-car pileup and they die. Right? Accidents can happen to anybody. But in terms of a little kid having an accident and dying, then we've also got to think about, why would they not have called 911 or taken her to the emergency room? And importantly, where would they have hidden the body for that body not to have been discovered, despite lots and lots of local searches over the last 2 years? So we've got to think about that, but we'll do that tomorrow once we've filled in all of these. So we'll get to today, we'll get to filling in as many accident scenarios as we can think of, and then we'll do these as well. And then tomorrow we can start tying in the people, the suspects, with motives, with the scenarios. So if if let's say dry drowning is the scenario that you think is the most likely to have happened, well, who's involved in that? Well, no one, except the people who covered up the fact that she'd died by dry drowning. Do you get me? Hope that's clear. Hopefully it will become clear. All right, so yesterday we got dry drowning in. I put fell downstairs in today because we talked about that yesterday. I just didn't put it on for whatever reason. I think we just talked around it. And fell off the swing. All right, we'll put that one in as well. Fell off the roof. Now, that's a new thing. And I personally, accident cover-up is quite far down, my theories. However, when Don talked about the roof incident, Summer wanting to go up onto the roof the day before she disappeared, it made me kind of, have a moment and think, oh my word, what if they left the ladder up? Because Summer and the boys allegedly, according to Don, went up onto the roof of the house the day before. What if they left the ladder up at the side of the house? And then on the following day, on the afternoon of the 15th, Summer thought, I enjoyed going on the roof. Nobody wants to play with me. I'll go up on the roof on my own. And she either fell off a ladder or she fell off the roof. But it still doesn't explain how they managed to cover that up and where's the body. But the roof, I think, has to be there for me. Died in a hot car. It came up yesterday. And then hypothermia, I've added that because a few people mentioned that in the comments. So a few people who watched the replay put that in the comments. So I've got that on as well. So we need fell off swing. We'll add a few lines because there's surely quite a few of these are going to come up. We can always just delete the lines. Right, so I don't have to keep toggle drawing. All right. Text box. Fell off swing. And why it's giving me this stupid font. I'm having to keep changing the font all the time. I don't know why it does this. Fell off swing is one. All right, what else have we got? So get some of these in the chat. No reason to cover up a fall. No, I don't think so either. That's what makes me think. My heart went cold for a second. And I thought, well, why wouldn't they just call 911? If she fell off a roof, why wouldn't they just want to call 911? And then you kind of get to thinking, well, maybe they thought that they'd be accused of negligence and, I don't know, people panic. But it's one of the reasons why accident cover-up for me isn't up there as a top theory, because I just think however much you're panicking or however much you think you're going to get done for neglect, surely if your kid's dying, you're going to call 911. All right, I'll just go back and have a look through the chat. So hit on Ben Hill. What if kids playing with loaded guns was true? Yeah. You believe the CPS illegally took her and adopted her out. All right, well, save that. Hold that thought, because that will come up in the hidden for our own safety theory. Hit the tree while swinging. So, all right. So we could put fell off, stroke, hit tree, because it's kind of the same thing. Like an accident involving the swing. If she fell off the roof, would a canine have alerted to the impact location? If she'd had a bowel movement or wet herself, then yes, possibly. But you've got to remember that summer scent was all over that property. So it's difficult for a dog, a live scent tracking dog, when there's scent all over, to pinpoint a strong scent when it's just a pool. Like they can follow a trail off the property because that trail continues down. It goes from the, you know, the pooling of the scent all around the house, and then they can follow a trail if they find it. So I don't know. And then cadaver dogs, unless she'd been lying there dead for a while, then no, a cadaver dog wouldn't detect it. But I see what you're saying. But a fall, when you, if you like, broke your neck or broke your spine, there might not even be any blood. See, that's the thing. You might bleed out your nose or your ears, but it wouldn't be like gushing blood, you know, like if, let's say, let's put in, what do people say? Hit on Ben Hill Road. So car accident. So someone hit her with a car. I mean, again, there might not be blood. Because the thing with the car, this is what I was told when my son was killed by a dangerous driver, that two things happen when somebody's hit by a car. Either they get flung up into the air, and then they're flipped over, or they go under the car. And that's what happened to my son. Like he was dragged under the car. That's what happened to my cousin. My cousin was dragged under the car. But my cousin must have some kind of guardian angel, because my cousin came out with nothing other than a lot of bruises, some lost teeth, lots of skin off his face, but he didn't even require surgery. But he was dragged under the car. But a small child, because they're lighter, they tend to be flung upwards. So if you're dragged under, then yes, it's messy. There's blood. There's blood, there's guts, there's whatever. Whereas if you're knocked upwards, I mean, a few years ago, my little dog, Basil, you never met him because it was a long time ago. It's about, I don't know, I'm going to say about 12 years, 15 years ago. I had a little Yorkshire Terrier called Basil. And he didn't like traffic. And he slipped his collar. I was going to the main road. I was going to the ATM just for some cash. And he slipped his collar because he was scared of the traffic. And all he wanted to do was get across the road. He knew we were crossing. He just wanted to get across the road as quickly as possible. And he slipped his collar. And sadly, a car hit him. And it was a hit and run. And in the UK, if you hit a dog, you are legally obliged to stop and report it as you would if it was a human, and they didn't. So the police were chasing them. The police couldn't find them though, but the police took it seriously. And Basil was flung up into the air, and he was dead on impact. And there was nothing on the ground. There was no blood. He didn't urinate. He didn't lose his bowels. There was nothing. I carried him home, and there was nothing. There was a tiny drop of blood out of one of his ears, and that was it. There was nothing on the ground at all. So I can understand if people say, look, she could have been hit and it be completely covered up. Because if you're thrown upwards, I've seen it happen with a dog, and it could equally happen with a small child, that you're flung up. And it's amazing how quick that happened. It was so fast. The car nearly got me. Like I ran out to try and catch him, and the car nearly got me. The car was like an inch away from me, but just caught him. and flung him and like turned him over in the air. But he was such a small dog, but that a small child, it would happen in the same way. And I've been told that by a traffic cop who deals with this every day of his life. So it is possible. It's not one of my favourite theories for summer, but it's possible that for that to have happened if she was flung up in the air, but not if she was dragged under, because that is messy. That is messy. Like my cousin, even though my cousin had very minimal injuries, like compared to what could have happened, there was still blood on the ground. Apparently, according to witnesses, there was still blood on the ground. All right, so we've got swing, hit by a car, overdose. Okay, so a drug overdose. That could be considered manslaughter. Mind you, no, if she'd accidentally, like if she got hold of some drugs, now that could be prescription medication or it could be illegal substances. Right, one of the major causes of infant deaths is them getting their hands on stuff and eating it and poisoning themselves or choking on it. Snake bite, yeah. Wouldn't that come under, though? Wouldn't it come under, let's say, wouldn't it come under that one, though? I think I'm going to put it under that one. Unless, because surely, if she'd been bitten by a snake in her yard, there would be absolutely no reason to cover that up. There'd be no question of neglect, would there? In a place where snakes, snakes are around, I think bitten by a snake would really come under if she'd wandered away. But it's possible, absolutely possible. Right, so overdose. Let's put that on. That can happen. Like in the UK, it's years and years ago now, but when I was a kid, there was always like ads on TV about bleach. You would get help. Yeah, I agree with you, Electric. I agree with you that you get help, but we're thinking about all the scenarios that could have happened. And then for whatever reason, we can talk about that tomorrow, whatever reason, why would they not want to call 911? Why would they not want to take her to the ER? What would the motive for not dealing with that in the appropriate way? Exactly. So many possibilities, but what's the most probable? This is part of the exercise, is that you could think up something really wild, like, she was attracted to a herd of unicorns that were running down Beach Street Road. So she chased after them and then she was beamed up by aliens. You can bring up some really fantastical, wild scenarios that, technically, I guess is possible. If there's wild monkeys living in the Tennessee hills, then who knows? There might also be a herd of unicorns in the Tennessee hills, right? And aliens probably exist. But what are the chances of somebody being abducted by one? Absolutely minimal. However, these are things that really could happen. But what are the chances of it? And then you think, right, okay, that does happen. Kids accidentally overdose. Kids get hit by cars. Kids fall off stuff. Bigfoot did it, yeah. But surely in the vast majority of cases where a kid has an accident, help is sought. So if your favorite theory, if your main theory is some form of accident, then you've got to explain why they didn't call the cops or didn't call 911. All right, just let me go up the chat a little bit just so that I don't miss any. Heat stroke. Died in hot car, would that not cover heat stroke? Because presumably if she was just out playing, it wouldn't be hot. Would it be hot enough for her to get heat stroke? Or could we just put like medical emergency? Yeah, we'll put that on as separate because it possibly could be separate. Medical emergency, e.g. heat stroke. But again, if it was a medical emergency, there'd be no question of neglect. So why on earth wouldn't you just take her to the ER? Do you know what I mean? Dry drowning. It's a popular... Dry drowning's on there because it is pretty popular still. Snakes don't care if you're in your yard. Yeah, I know. But if you were in your yard and like say Summer was just playing in her yard, like outside of the back door or on her swing, and she got bitten by a snake, surely you would just get help. There's no question of neglect at all if you got bitten by a snake in an area where snakes come into yards, surely. But if she wandered away and then got bitten by a snake and wasn't able to get home, now that, to me, is feasible. Have we got any more accident scenarios? I'm ignoring the ones like punished by a parent and stuff like that because we're just focusing at the moment on accident. We're going to get onto that when we get to this because things like punished or beaten by a parent would come under this one. So I'm ignoring those just for now. Dislike of police. Yeah, but they call 911. They call 911 when they knew she was allegedly missing. So we've got the swing one. You love my imagination. Well, anything's possible, but we are going to have to seriously consider how feasible some of these things are. Well, let's just get it all down for now. Don mentioned aliens. Did he really? Did he really? He's not serious though, is he? He's not seriously. Wasn't she old enough to get herself out of the vehicle? I said that. That if you die in a hot car, dogs die in hot cars and babies die in hot cars because they can't get out. Whereas a 5-year-old, unless the door's locked, like if your door's got child locks on, I don't know whether they're called child locks in the US, but if you've put your child locks on so that your kid can't open your door while you're driving, then she might not be able to get out. But wouldn't she be hammering on the window? That's what I said. I said that. Didn't they buy CBD gummies? I don't know whether they bought CBD gummies. Honestly, though, you'd have to eat even at age 5, you'd have to eat a shed load of CBD gummies to be in any danger whatsoever. I mean, I've had CBD gummies and they have no effect on me at all. Even though weed, you know, the actual drug like weed, I can't take it. I can't ingest it. It makes me faint. Whereas CBD, like I have CBD oil, CBD drops, CBD gummies, and they don't affect me at all. Oh, sorry, GoFundMe. You still need to accept your Cash App from yesterday. It's pending your review. Is it? Okay. Please hold. I'll do it right now. Please hold. Hold on. Let me put my please hold thing on. There it is. Hello, I'm back. I've accepted it now. I didn't realise, I don't use Cash App very often. I didn't realise that you have to accept, because I've had some that have expired. I've had like 4 Cash Apps in the past that have expired. So I'm so sorry. I didn't realise. I just assumed it was like PayPal. So thank you so much for those who've Cash App me. Thank you for telling me that I need to accept, because I did not know that. So thank you for that. And also, I do get random PayPals every now and again. And thank you. Just thank you that just suddenly a PayPal appears. And it's great. It's wonderful. So thank you so much. And I've also got Buy Me a Coffee now as well. The link to that is in the description box. And somebody very kindly bought me 5 coffees. So it's an app called Buy My Coffee. And you can just make like small donations. Like I don't actually like coffee, so I won't be buying coffee with it, but I'll probably be buying dog treats and, you know, things like that. But yeah, I should be able to change it to Buy My Dog Treats. But thank you so much for those who do donate in that way. And I've got a let me just look here. I've got a super chat whilst I was doing that. Let me just find it. There we go. Thank you so much for the 20 Canadian dollars. Candice took summer to shed to traffic. Person didn't return her. Do you know what? That used to be my number one theory. That used to be my number one theory for ages. And then I taught myself out of it. However, when we get on to this one, we can put it there. All right. Let's have a look if there's any more. Don will be blaming the unicorns. He certainly will. Mum was high as a kite, wouldn't call 911. And there you go. That's the rationale. That's the kind of thing we need to think about. Why wouldn't they call 911 and get a, you know, why wouldn't, well, if Candice was high, why wouldn't Grandma take her to the ER? Why wouldn't Grandma do that? What if they were concerned a healthcare official would tell she was being abused? Well, Yeah, I've thought that, but you'd have to do a pretty intimate examination. I'm assuming you mean essay. You'd have to do a pretty intimate exam for that to occur, you know, for that to be found. So if your child was alive, let's say, for example, they've been bitten by a snake, there'd be no reason to do that form of intimate examination to treat a snake bite or to treat an injury from falling off a swing. Now, if the child was dead, then yeah, they might think forward and think, we don't want this child to go to autopsy for that reason. I get that. But just for treating a regular accident, even an overdose, yes, they might get into trouble, but they wouldn't do an intimate examination on Summer for an overdose. I don't think they would anyway. But I do get what you're saying. Copperheads are usually by water. We don't have copperheads in the UK, so I'll take your word for it. The only poisonous snake we've got is the adder, and they're very, very shy. And if you get bitten by an adder, you don't die. Unless you have like a massive allergic reaction. They've got a very weak bite. Like even if your dog gets bitten by an adder, they don't die. A small child wouldn't die. I think the last person to get bitten by an adder and die was in the 1970s, I was reading somewhere. And that's somebody who has like a massive allergic reaction to it. So they go into anaphylactic shock. It's not the actual snake bite itself. But if copperheads usually hang out by water, well, there's a creek right there. So I'm sure that they do have coyotes. Yeah, coyotes probably the one, if there was an animal attack, like an animal that would carry you away with minimal fuss. I don't know. I think you'd be screaming though, because they don't kill you immediately, do they? Like coyotes are like dogs. Like they're not really clean killers. But yeah, they will carry you away. There was another one that I found. Fridge. The fridge. That was a thing that I think that fridge, personally, looking at that fridge, I think that fridge is too modern for a kid to be able to get stuck in it. There's really old fridges. Kids used to play in them and get stuck and die in a fridge. But modern fridges, now I've never tested this. I'm only going on what's alleged. I've never climbed inside my fridge. I honestly think I'm too big to climb in my fridge. But if I could, I'd test it. If I could, I would test it. I need to get a really small person, like a really tiny person, to go in my fridge and test this. But you can push the door. Like it doesn't take much to push the door from the inside so you can get out. So I think the fridge is too modern to get stuck in. However, we'll put it in anyway, just in case. So stuck in fridge. I'm assuming that's what we're... That did the rounds. When Don did that interview and he was hitting that fridge with a stick, a lot of people thought that fridge was a problem. But like now I'm kind of questioning, did she fall off a roof? When Don was hitting that fridge, a lot of people thought, did she get stuck in that fridge? She never walked left in car. Wouldn't you wake up when you got so really hot though? Like we discussed this yesterday as well, that a 5-year-old, like a baby, if a baby overheats, there's a chance that they'll die of SIDS, like a cot death, because of like the mechanism in a baby's brain. It's not really very good at heat control, and they die. They end up like having a cardiac arrest and dying because of overheating. Whereas a 5-year-old, I don't think that a SIDS-like scenario happens in a child as old as 5. But I might be wrong. It's possible. Technically, anything's possible. So that's why I've got it there as a thing. She fell asleep in the fridge. Would you? Yeah, but once, would you really be able to sleep in a fridge? She wasn't that tiny. She was tiny, but not that tiny. I don't know. We'll put fridge on. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Elise. Modern fridges just have a light magnet closure. Yeah, they do. Put overdose high on the list. Yeah. I mean, it's kids accidentally ingesting stuff that they shouldn't is a common form of accidental injury, and unfortunately it results in deaths. And that's in a household where a kid's got their hand on, just over the counter medications like headache tablets or antihistamines, and they've guzzled a bunch of them and they've died. Now, in a household where there's also illegal substances that a child could get their hands on, it's possible. It's not one of my top theories, I've got to tell you, but it's very possible. I think it's more likely than her being stuck in the fridge and dying. I think it's more likely than her dying in a hot car. If I had to choose the most likely off this list that we've got so far, I would have to go with overdose, hit by a car, or fell off roof. Those would be my most likely to result in a death, because dry drowning is very rare. If you fell off a swing, the chances are you wouldn't die because that swing's not that high. I mean, it's possible, but the chances are you'd hurt yourself, but you wouldn't die. Fell downstairs, same. The chances are you wouldn't die. But we're talking about it all, right? Talking about it all. Bailed up in crops. Ooh. Wouldn't you, if you were running through, if you were playing in crops, if you fell asleep in a field and you didn't move in time, you might do, but they're flaming loud. Like if you're talking about balers and, farm machinery, it's very, very loud. So if you fell asleep in a field and a farmer came along, I think you'd wake up. I don't know, though. Hit by a car, you go to hospital. That's what I'm saying. Why would you, like if you were bitten by a snake, there's no question of neglect. Why would you not take your kid to hospital? Hit by a car, same. Why wouldn't you just take your kid to hospital? But there might be reasons, and that's what we're going to discuss tomorrow. All right, so we've got quite a few. If there's any more that I've missed, then we can add to this. But let's move on. So regarding abduction, I think abduction is like the majority of the people on this list, are potential abductors, right? Aren't they? There's only one scenario for, let's say, for example, the tree trimmers or Robin Lane or Billy Dishner or Blue Roof Dawn or Jodie Sue to have done something bad to Summer. They had to abduct her. So the vast majority of people on this suspect list will end up talking about when we consider abduction. But you can either be abducted by a complete stranger, which I personally think that somebody, like an abduction as Don has described it, that someone came up into the yard and stole Summer, I think is highly unlikely if we consider a stranger scenario. Just by the location alone, that a complete stranger looking for a kid to abduct wouldn't choose Summer because of her location. Because it's on a hill, you're not even going to be able to see Summer playing. In the summer months, especially when there's tree coverage, there's leaf coverage on the trees, you're not going to be able to see Summer playing. So it's not like you can just grab a kid from a yard and throw her in a vehicle, or a kid playing on the park and throwing them in a vehicle. That can happen in super quick time. Whereas a complete stranger, I think, is highly unlikely. However, somebody who knows Summer, somebody local, somebody who knows the family, I think that's highly, highly probable. That's just my opinion. Okay. So we already put those in yesterday. Now, are there any other, like, can you have anybody else? Like, you either have to be a stranger or you have to be known, don't you? But this is going to link to this, and it's going to link to this. So we're going to end up with lines going between abduction and these two things. So we'll leave abduction just there, sitting there, patiently waiting. Yeah, we've got David Dotson on the list. Do you want me to just quickly read the list again, just very quickly, before we get on to sold and trafficked? And we're going to do a poll as well soon. At the end of yesterday, we did a poll, and I can only do 4 options. So what I'm going to do is split it up, and then the top 2 of each, we're gonna work it all out. We're gonna work it all out. So let's read the suspects just very quickly. So Candice Grandma Don, Jodie Sue, Andy Bernard, Jodie Sue's son, Don Sherfy Jr., Fred Hill, Frank Light, Hunter, Blue Roof Don, Jose, Andrew Hiltz, Billy Dishner, Tree Trimmers, David Dotson, Robin Lane, Tim Mullen, Wild Bill Drinnen, Brandon Lawson, an unnamed drug dealer, so somebody who knows the Wells, but we don't know the name of. Marlena Crawford, Ricky Crawford. Now, there's 2 Ricky Crawfords. One of them has subsequently died of natural causes. Dudley, Tony Hammonds, a delivery driver, Clester Taylor, Wayne Morlock, Ali. Couldn't remember Ali's last name. It's Harris, isn't it? But we all know who we're talking about. Cornbread Mafia-like organisations, like a organised crime gang. Richard Tucker, Pam Wells, Brad Wishan, Billy Benton, Ronnie Lawson, Bradley Hayes, Don's sister, Crystal Spencer, or other adult siblings. So there's 2 adult siblings on Don's side and 2 adult siblings on Candice's side. Okay, so those are the suspects that we named yesterday. That's just for people who are just coming in. Just to refresh your memory. All right, let's think about the scenarios that relate to a trafficking or sold scenario. So let's get some lines up here. Draw. So what type of scenario would you have for trafficking? How about H's gang initiations and his friends? Well, that would come under Hunter. Holy crap, who has that kind of sus list? Well, it was a brainstorming session yesterday that brought that list together. I didn't realize there was that many names that people would implicate. These are just, it's just brainstorming. It's just ideas. So, okay. So a debt. So sold for a debt. Okay. So sold to pay a debt. So traded to pay a debt. Okay. So that would obviously be one of the parents, wouldn't it? But we'll match the suspects to the scenarios tomorrow. Just getting all the things in first. Drug debt. I think comes under that list. To teach Don a lesson. Revenge. Would that come under? It would be an abduction. All of these would be an abduction, wouldn't they? So they'd all relate to this. So it would relate to a known person abducted her, and then either murdered her or trafficked her to teach Don a lesson. So revenge or retaliation. All right. Stupid that I've got to change the font every time. Retaliation. And then the scenario that we had, rented, not returned. That's the one. That sounds just absolutely awful, doesn't it? Absolutely awful. But I that was one of my top theories. It really was. It really was. For the first, I'd say the very first theory, I thought she'd been abducted by somebody. And as I looked into the case more and realised the dodgy connections that the parents had, I thought, you know what? I think she's been sold, and I don't think it was intentional. I think that something went wrong. And that was my scenario for, I'd say, for at least 3 months. If you look back, maybe August, September of 2021, August, September, October of 2021. So in the early days, I was making video after video after video about that because I truly believed it. But it's just awful. If that happened, it's the most horrible, horrific thing. It's not one of my top theories anymore, but it used to be. What else have we got? Option to get them to move property. So, okay. Can we put that under kind of land dispute? Or is it would that come under retaliation? Probably wouldn't, honestly. We'll put land dispute on as separate because I kind of know what you mean. Draw. Because I talk about that. I don't know how realistic it is for someone to steal a kid because of a land dispute. Don't start fighting. Oi. Cassie snapped at Noodle. Tilly has to run upstairs thinking that there's a fight. Land dispute. All right. I didn't need to make that line so long. I can always tidy this up later. All right. Have we got anything else? Financial gain. Yeah. Yeah, financial gain. So rather than being rented, like sold for financial gain. That's awful as well. But it does happen, unfortunately. kids do get sold. It's awful. Just, you think of anything worse. So, what can I call it? Family financial gain. I don't know anybody can do that, but it does happen. I mean, there was that case, wasn't it? What's her name? I can picture a little girl, and her mother was renting her out, and she was only like 5. What was her name? And this guy that she'd rented her to murdered her. And the name's on the tip of my tongue. You know, just what's her name? It's doing my head in now. Was it Kamari? Kamari Holland. Kamari Holland. It's not that long ago. And her mother reported her missing. And she was found very quickly in an abandoned building. And this guy that her mother had been renting her out to had strangled her. Yeah, Kamari Holland. Just, I can't cope with that. I really can't. You remember that? Yeah, just awful. Didn't Don offer to sell his first child? It was, wasn't it Don's stepsister Mary that said that? I'm not sure whether he sold him or he just left him and forgot about him. And we've never really got to the bottom of it. I think possibly Don was just high, took his kid round to this person's house and left him there because he just forgot about him. I think it's more likely that happened, because if you sold your kid for drugs, the chances are you're not going to get them back, because allegedly it was Pam Wells who had to go around and get him back. It came from Mary, and I don't know to what degree I believe every aspect of that story. Mary said it again recently, did she? Was that when she was on, didn't she go on the lab? Was it the lab she went on? Can't remember. I know I've seen her on a channel recently. I don't know whether I got to the end of it though. Or maybe maybe I did hear it and I've just kind of forgotten. His older daughter said it wasn't true. Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. But she really gets on with Don. She gets on well with him, doesn't she? She did say so, but if you'd sold your child to a drug dealer for drugs and you'd taken those drugs, you're not going to be getting your kid back, are you? You're not going to be getting your kid back. And who buys a child? Who would accept a child in you know, for like a bit of dope or a bit of coke or whatever? Who would accept a child under those circumstances? The only reason why you'd accept a child in payment was if your debt was huge and that drug person was involved in a trafficking ring. Because the average drug dealer is not going to want to buy a child. It would only be those who have the market for that child. So people involved in not only drugs, but also human trafficking or prostitution. So I don't know how much I agree. I believe that story. I do think Don probably did leave him somewhere though. and Pam had to go and get him back, but I don't think actual money exchanged hands. I don't know though. Who knows? Who knows what happened? We weren't there, were we? We've got what Mary said, and then we've got what Don's daughter said, and they're saying different things. So we don't know. We don't know. All right. Have we got any more trafficking scenarios? I don't think I can really think of any. Can't think of any. Like, I can think of specific scenarios like related to these, how each of these might have happened, but let's move to murder or manslaughter. So in this, it's intentionally causing harm to someone. So intending to do it. Like, you might not have intended to kill her, but you intended to hurt her. So it's intentional damage. So let's, now surely there's only a few possible reasons why this could happen. So why is my drawer not working? Why is my pen not working? All right, you don't want to work. We'll do it this way then. Copy and paste the line in if you don't want to draw it for me. So beaten to death. So beaten to death. Surely only a handful of these that could have happened. Shot, I guess, could come under that. No, I don't want my line that big. What are you doing? Why are you doing that to me? I don't want my line that long. Stop it. No, you're getting on my nerves. All right, we'll undo that. We'll undo that. And we'll leave that line alone. That line wants to be long. That line is not being long. I'm going to save this because PowerPoint's playing up. So we'll save that so we don't lose all our work. Okay, so rebellious tech. Yeah, it is. It's sick of drawing lines. Don't want to draw any more lines. So beaten to death in anger. So got so enraged that they beat her to death. And then we had shot before. Shot came up. And I left it for this because if you shot someone, even if it was like part of a game, in the UK, I think you get done for manslaughter. Now, I don't know about Tennessee, but I think you get done for manslaughter in the UK. So you'd have to have a really good lawyer to get you off a manslaughter charge. Right. You're playing games with me now. All right, we'll do that again. We'll do that line again because you're getting on my nerves. They don't want to play ball, these lines now. They're like, Michelle, you've been doing this too long. Okay, so shot. So it came up earlier. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like boys playing with the gun and we're pointing it around. I don't want to implicate the boys at all, but It's a possible scenario that if you were playing with a gun and you shot someone, like I know someone, right, who shot himself when he was a kid, playing about with a gun. He lived on a farm, playing about with a gun, and he shot himself in the chest. Like, what the hell? And he's perfectly fine. He had a nice scar, but shot himself. I think it was only like an air rifle or something, but still. How can you possibly? So it does happen, doesn't it? How is that funny? I know it's not funny. It's funny because he laughed about it. Like, he was grown up. He's like grown up now, very grown up. But yeah. I just imagine him, like, didn't change at all. Would probably do the same, like, to this day. Like, completely careless. So no, it wouldn't be funny at the time, and it could have been absolutely disastrous. But if the boys were playing about with a gun and they accidentally shot Summer, then no, it's absolutely tragic. Totally tragic. But wouldn't people hear the gunshot though? I suppose in the country you're used to hearing stuff like that, so maybe not. There's body points that if punched can be fatal. Oh yeah, if you hit someone at the back of the head, totally fatal. Don't hit someone on the back of the head unless you actually want them to die. There would be blood evidence. There absolutely would. Yes, there absolutely would. I totally agree with you that if she was shot, there would be blood everywhere. And how would you be able to clean up an accident scene where you shot somebody? So I agree with you there. But it was a scenario that came up in the comments earlier. But I totally agree with you that I don't think she was shot. But let's put it on there as an outside chance. What else have we got? Yeah, the boys had BB guns, yeah. The boy's angry with her. Well, we've got that. Because we've not put a name to that yet. And I really don't want to talk about the boys. The boys are very, very young. Still very, very young. Not always lots of blood, though. If you shoot someone. I think there is going to... Well, I guess it depends where you hit them. Have we got any more? All these theories are a bunch of crap. Only Candice, Don, and Grandma know what happened. Yeah, but we don't know what happened. So at this moment in time, anything could have happened. That's the idea of doing exercises like this. It's because we don't know what happened. We just don't know what happened. So some of the theories, in my opinion, are quite out there. They're very, very, very unlikely. However, let's just put it all down, and then tomorrow we can think about, well, what's the most likely and what's the motives for this thing to have happened, this scenario to have happened. That's the idea of doing it like this. Exactly, yeah, Boomer Baby. Law enforcement could be looking at a certain few. Absolutely. They absolutely could. Because that's what law enforcement does. They brainstorm, they go through a bunch of possible hypotheses, and then they look at the evidence. And then they'll rule certain things out if there's no evidence for it. But then sometimes in a case that's unsolved for a long time, especially if a new team takes over, I just so wish, I so hope that a new team does take over this case, and they start from scratch and they look at every single piece of evidence again. They start from scratch. They get everything on the board again, do it from the beginning, and take it step by step. And they brainstorm. They put ideas on a board. They physically put things on boards. And that's the only way an investigation can progress. If you don't know what happened, especially if you've no body, then you have to hypothesize, and then you have to think, right, okay, we've got this person who were in the immediate vicinity. We've got this person who were also in the vicinity. Do they have a motive? They have a motive. All right, let's think about the possible scenarios. So you've got the scenarios that could have happened. You've got the people who were the closest to, and then you look at the things like physical evidence, things like forensics, things like digital evidence. But that takes a while to come in. Now, obviously, the cops have all that now, and it's not helped them. So the cops still probably somewhere in the TBI office somewhere, there'll be a board or something. There'll be files. There'll be lots and lots and lots of this kind of stuff that's been done, looking at possible scenarios. What do I think of footprints? I've done lots of videos on those footprints. Go find me. Lots and lots of videos on the footprints. Brainstorming is the way investigators work. It's what they do. Essayed to death. Oh, dear me. Oh, God. All right, I'll put it on. Oh, God. Ugh. That's just awful. But Kamari Holland, it was an essay situation, and he obviously had some kind of strangle fantasy. I don't know. Has that dude been to court yet? Look at that line. No. What are you doing to me? Right, get rid of that. These lines don't want to play today, honestly. Right. Okay. Essay death. We all know what we mean by that. Dear God. I'm not even going to touch that line. It's no wrong. Yeah, building a prosecutable case is the thing. You can have as many theories. You can have something that you're absolutely sure happened. But if you don't have the evidence that will stand up in court, then you cannot arrest them, because it will never stand up in court. Even if a judge signs off a probable cause affidavit and they get arrested and court proceedings begin, if there's not enough evidence, that will never, ever, ever go to trial. Look at Barry Morphew. Look at the Barry Morphew case. You know, that was heading to trial. And, you know, after the preliminary hearing, the prosecutors just dropped the case. They dismissed him because they knew that they didn't have enough evidence, that the evidence they did have wasn't solid enough. I thought they had some really interesting evidence, but they believed it wasn't solid enough. So they're dismissed without prejudice, which means that at some point in the future, if they do get more evidence, they'll rearrest him and start again. But what they don't want to do is take a shaky case to trial and then be found not guilty, because they can't ever be tried again for that crime. So we've got stairs, and we've got drugs. So we've got stairs here, fell downstairs. I guess we could say she was pushed downstairs, but whatever way, she fell downstairs, and we've got overdose there. So I've got them in that one. All right, let's do, we can come back to any of these, obviously, again. It's plain neglect manslaughter. Only, I don't know. Yeah, if it resulted in their death, yes. But in what scenario would you'd have to be severely, like, there's been cases that have been brought against people who've just basically left a baby and they've starved to death. There's cases where a disabled person has been just left in their own filth and have just died from being eaten by maggots and starvation. So in those cases, that really extreme neglect, yes, it's murder. But in Summer's case, was she neglected to the point that she would have died? Just through nothing else at all, would she have died? And not by the looks of her, no. Not by the looks of her. Poll time. Yeah, we're going to do poll. We're just going to do this, and then we're going to do poll time. All right, so wandered off and get lost. Animal attack. Fell down a ravine or a hole. So does snake bite come under animal attack? I guess it does. Because we could do this. We could do this. So what animals are there out there in the Tennessee hills? So we've got bears, snakes, coyotes. What else have we got? What else will eat you out there? So we don't have bears or coyotes in the UK. Unfortunately, I'd like to have them, but we don't. We used to have wolves and bears, but they were hunted into extinction. Unfortunately. All right, bear. Not B. And we've got snake. Coyote. Do you have wolves in Tennessee? Spiders. Do you have poisonous spiders? Wolves, bears, vultures, wild boars. Yeah, they're quite mean, aren't they? So you do have wolves, do you? All right. Do you? I'm believing you. I'll look it up later. You can't fool me. I'm going to put coyotes and wolves together because they're like big dogs. The dog family. Coyote or wolf. What else? Do you have mountain lions? They're cool. You have mountain lions in Tennessee? We're really boring in the UK. We don't have anything like this. We have Scottish wildcats, but they live in the Highlands of Scotland, but they're not really that much bigger than a domestic cat, to be fair. They will attack you if you like corner them. They're pretty mean. I don't know if they kill you. Yeah, we've got coyote and wolf. So big dogs and big cats. So we'll just say big cats and big dogs. So we've got snake. Badgers. Badgers don't hurt you, do they? We've got lots of badgers. We've got lots of foxes as well. I've never known a human being eaten by a fox. There's no mountain lions in Tennessee. Oh, that's a shame. Do you have bobcats though? I'll look it up. You're not gonna get the better of me. A random dingo just happens to be in Tennessee. Yeah, you're being silly now. You don't have badgers. We've got lots of badgers. We're losing badgers because people keep hunting them. All right. So what else have we got? Oh, there are mountain lions in Tennessee. Yes, 125 Ben Hill Road was searched. Yes. If we got wild boars, wild hogs. Yeah. Right. We'll leave it at that. We've got we've got the feel that there's quite a few wild animals in Tennessee that would take you. I think we have some wild hogs in the UK. Not round here. We just get overrun by deer. It would be useful to have some of these carnivores. We have like a deer problem. We have a big deer problem. You do have mountain lions, panthers, bobcats, and bears. All right. We've covered quite a lot. And then obviously if she wandered off, falling down a ravine or a falling off at something, falling down a hole, that's very possible in my opinion. Like literally incredibly possible in my opinion. But what else? If she wandered off, I mean, she could just die of the elements, I guess. I knew it was summertime, so it's not going to be like freezing at night. Bobcats are not very dangerous. Yeah, Scottish wildcats are probably about the size of a bobcat, maybe a bit smaller. I'm going to put elements in because I'm not really sure you wouldn't die of cold, would you? In June in Tennessee? Right, if you got lost in the UK in June, you wouldn't die of cold. You really wouldn't. Not in June. So we'll put the elements. So exposure. Why does it think I've spelt that wrong? Yeah, drowned. Yeah. So fell in a pond, yeah. So this is like drowned, as in not dry drowning, but actually wandered off and fell in a pond and drowned, yeah. Now, a lot of the water sources and stuff there have been searched. We do know that. We do know that a lot of those water sources have been searched. But have they all been searched is the question. All right, there we go. We've got hit by a passing vehicle. We've got it in accident. This is a waste of time. Why is it a waste of time, Patty? Why is it a waste of time? Why is it a waste of time covering every possible scenario? If you have a theory that you think happened and you are not going to even consider any other possible scenario, then I guess for you it's a waste of time. However, the chances are you're wrong, because we don't know what happened to Summer. We have no idea. And if you're that sure, then where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? You're that sure. We don't know what happened. So doing a thing like this, like brainstorming every possible scenario, surely is a useful exercise. This is how investigation works. This is how investigators work. They brainstorm, they hypothesize, they look at possible motives, they look at people, they look at scenarios, and then they look to see what evidence there is to support these things. That's what they do. That's how evidence collection works. Nothing for a missing child is wasted time. Absolutely. Like, however many scenarios we can think of, it might be something else. Something else might have happened. But the chances are, if we get a really good set of information together, the chances are one of these things did happen. Now, does it help find Summer? No, probably not. Unless somebody who watches this at some point in the future and says, I didn't consider that. Hold on a minute. I'm in the area. I could go and check that out. And you never know. It takes one tip. It takes one piece of information that sometimes will break a case. We don't know. And if nothing else, it's getting Summer's name and face out there. It's getting us thinking, talking. People can take this, as I said at the beginning. If you're a creator and you come upon this, feel free to use it, any part of it you want. Feel free to take the screenshots of these things. Just use it. Use it in your own way. As long as you just credit me, just put my link in the description. That's all I require. You could take all of it if you want, every single piece of it. That's what creators should be doing. We should be sharing information, not drama, not nonsense, not this creator hates this creator and this creator hates this creator and this creator did this wrong. I'm not interested in any of that. This little girl right here has been missing for almost 2 years. Let's focus on what's important. What's important is what happened to this little girl, not which creator hates this creator and this creator. It's absolute bullshit. Bullshit that's going on at the moment amongst Summer Wells creators. Absolute total bullshit. Yes, I've seen some of it. And it's part of the reason why I've done this. It's part of the reason, even though I only get a fraction of the views that these drama things get, because everybody wants to listen to the drama. Everybody wants to hear this person sounding off, or this person kicking off, or this person strikes this person. Absolute, total, complete fucking bullshit. Sorry for my language. So let's take it back to basics. It's why I did that June 15th series last week. Take it back to basics. And doing a session like this, or a 3-part session like this, as this is going to turn out to be, let's talk about Summer. Let's talk about the things that could have happened to Summer. The people who could be involved. We're not naming and shaming. We're just throwing ideas about. If your name turns up on this list and you see this, we're not implicating you. We're just saying you might have been there. You might have some information. Let's talk about it. All of these, yeah. Yeah, the vast majority of these things didn't happen. But something happened. Something happened to Summer Wells. Something happened to Summer Wells. Whether it's this on this page, whether it's on this page, or whether it turns out to be something as simple and as tragic as her wandering off and falling down a ravine and dying. It's something happened to Summer Wells. Let's talk about the things that could have happened to Summer Wells, not about who hates who or any shit like that. Let's talk about what might have happened to Summer Wells and who might have done it, whether that turns out to be a snake, whether that turns out to be a coyote, whether that turns out to be her parents or a neighbor or a complete flaming stranger. Let's talk about it all, right? Let's talk about it all. Let's not give any nonsense. Just don't give it airtime. Just don't give nonsense airtime. Focus on this little girl and the missing children like her. There are thousands of missing children like Summer Wells. Every time we talk about Summer Wells, we could potentially also be mentioning people out there still missing, like Michael Vaughan, like Classic and Sincere. Their parents might have been convicted, but where are Classic and Sincere? Still out there somewhere. There's so many. There's so many. Talk, if you don't want to, if you're sick of Summer Wells, if you're sick of talking about Summer Wells theories, then talk about other missing children or other missing people. There's not only missing people, there's just not only missing children, there's missing adults, there's people missing all over the world. Harmony Montgomery, her dad at the moment going through the weapons trial. I've got to catch up on the weapons trial. Watched this morning. I've not watched what happened after lunch. I'm sitting through every minute of Adam Montgomery's weapons trial. Why? For 2 stolen guns. Why? Because the people who are giving evidence at Adam Montgomery's trial, the chances are they're also going to be giving evidence at Harmony's trial, at the trial for his second-degree murder charge of Harmony Montgomery. And her body is still out there. She is still out there somewhere. Where are the boys? Absolutely. Absolutely. Every missing child deserves a voice. Every missing person deserves a voice. Every missing person. So if you think this is a waste of time, then all right, fair enough. You think it's a waste of time. So go and watch some videos on other missing people and spread their information. But being stuck in a rut and considering only one theory, then the chances are when there's so many things that could have happened, the chances are you're going to be wrong. And that's fine. If you're happy being wrong, that's absolutely fine, right? However, why not consider a wide possible scope of things that might have happened? Why not? All right. So very quickly, we're going to I'll do the first poll. So let me just do this. I'm going to do a poll. So let's do the ones we've already discussed. So we're going to do accident, sold, abduction. And then we'll do murdered, wandered off, and given away in the next poll. And then the top 2 of each of those we'll do in an overall poll. We'll do it like that. What happened to Summer Wells? So we're going to do accident cover up, abduction. I know what we'll do. We'll do abduction stranger. We'll split abduction up into two. Abduction stranger, and then abduction known to family, or known to, I'll just put known. So somebody who knows Summer or knows her family. And then we'll do sold stroke trafficked. I can't spell trafficked. Okay, right. So this poll is going to run for 5 minutes. So that's going to run for 5 minutes. So we've currently got 555 people watching. So get voting. I'm going to get my notebook so that I remember the results, because when I do the next poll, I think this is going to disappear. I've even got a notebook. God, I'm so good. All right. So got 90 votes so far, 92 votes. All right, while you're voting, we'll just finish this off. So giving away or hidden for her safety, that's where we were up to. So we'll just finish this. So so somebody mentioned earlier taken by CPS. I think that's highly, highly unlikely that someone would do that from the CPS, but I don't know a case where that's ever been done, but who knows? Right, taken by CPS. And then yesterday, I think we had taken by, so given away by family for better life. That was one that came up yesterday. So we'll put that in. Taken by family or given away by family. For better life. There we go. All right. Got 159 votes so far. Let's save that. Oh, I got a super chat. Let's see who the super chat was from. Hey, thank you. Was hiding in back of vehicle when Candice left Hill or on the tree trimmer trailer, then wandered off in a different direction. Interesting. Interesting. Thank you for the $4.99. That is interesting. Never thought of that. And then that would mean she was not even close to her home. I mean, is it likely that she did that? No, but it's possible. It's a scenario that I'd not thought of. So accident cover-ups winning currently by 8%. Then we're going to do the same. Why did Candice speed off? Speed off where? Oh, speed off to look for summer. Do you mean? You see, abduction, like let's say abduction by a known person, that in itself opens up lots of possibilities, because it opens up that she's either been taken to be trafficked, which is just horrendous, taken to be murdered, which is horrendous, and the best case scenario is that she was taken by someone who wanted to give her a better life. And that's what we all hope. Is it likely that that happened? I don't know. But so the church, so the church did something like adoption by church or something. Right, we'll talk about the people who could be involved in these scenarios tomorrow. So at the moment, we'll just put adopted by, taken by church. We'll just put that. Right, for an adoption. Right, I don't think these scenarios are likely at all, but it's best case scenario, isn't it? Oh, right. Poll end. Actually went 6 minutes then. Okay, so the top two were accident cover-up and abduction by a known person. So accident and abduction by known go into the final. Right, we're going to do another poll now. And we're going to put the other scenarios in. What happened to Summer Wells? Okay, so we're going to do murdered. And then we're going to do wandered away and died. So it could be by any means. And then we're going to do hidden for her safety. Okay. So there's 3 options there. Is there any more? Because I can put a 4th in. But anyway, there we go. So 5 minutes on that. And then the top two on that will go into the final with accident and abduction by a known person. And we'll see what the overall most popular theory is. Some of these are just so, I mean, it's all tragic. It's all horrific, but let's poll what people actually think happened. Let's see what people actually think. Rags to riches, you think none of the above? Did you vote in the previous one? If you voted in the previous one and you don't think any of these happen, then don't vote, obviously. Taken by RSO or not registered SA offenders. Yeah, highly possible. Unfortunately. Unfortunately, these people are everywhere. They are everywhere. It's best case scenario, isn't it? Is it likely? Sadly, no. But it's best case scenario. If she was, Kathy says, I don't believe she was murdered. If she was murdered, I think it was as part of an abduction scenario. Sadly. All right, how's this poll doing? So wandered away is winning. Wow. Will it go any? Will it be accident or abducted by a known person though? All right. So we'll finish this off tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to start adding motive and looking at, you know, these people. So some of these people, like I said before, I really didn't know just how many names people would come up with. But if you really believe that one of these people did it, then which scenario are you going to match it with? And so we're looking at motives, we're looking at suspects, and we're also going to try and like refute some of it, because, you know, if you think about something that's really out there and highly improbable, you've got to have very, very good evidence for it. The more improbable it is, the stronger your evidence has to be, because you know, it's like something that's really unlikely. Yes, really unlikely scenarios do happen, but it's under highly unusual circumstances that they do. Usually, you know, you go down, well, what's the simplest explanation? Usually it's the simplest explanation. Not always, but usually it is. But when you have absolutely no idea what happened to this little girl, how do we know what's the simple explanation? Do you know what I mean? You know, some things that I think might be simple, you might not. You believe she's happy and safe in Arkansas? I really hope so. I really, really hope so. Please add Arnold's to the list. Arnold, there's lots of Arnolds. Any particular Arnold? Which Arnold? There's loads of them. Well, let me see. Oh, there we go. Chad or Billy Arnold. All right, we can add them. Chad and Billy Arnold. All right. All right, this poll is ending. Okay, end poll. All right, let's look at the winners. So, wandered away and murdered. So there, right. So we're going to do a 4-question poll. And we're going to see what's the most popular theory. Which sounds awful. given the, you know what I mean, though. The thing that people most likely think happened. So this is the final poll. Summer Wells. So accident, cover up. Abduction. So by a known person. Then wandered away and died. And then murdered. I do appreciate that if you're abducted, then the chances are you're going to be murdered. But, you know, what we mean by murdered on its own is so murdered but not abducted. Right. Go. It's 5 minutes. 5 minutes on the clock. This is the decider. Yeah, manslaughter. We can include manslaughter. So intentional, like you might not have intended to kill someone, but you've done something so stupid that it resulted in them dying. You don't see the poll. Poll's not showing up. Well, it's showing up for some people. We've had 94 votes so far. So I don't know. Refresh. Just refresh your chat. That might help. 101 votes, 104 votes. Most people are seeing it. I think just refresh your page. That might help. Go out and come back in. Oh, this is really close now. This is really close. Yay. Go find me's voted. Yeah, sometimes it like minimizes itself and you have to click on it. Chat just went crazy. Yeah, it does that occasionally. Like it doesn't catch up for a minute and then it just all jumps. That's how I feel. Exactly how I feel. It's one of the reasons why I went back to the beginning and did that June 15th series, because I'd gone, like, just in my own time, I'd gone right back and was looking at like the news reports from the night she disappeared. And because I had no idea, I just wanted to just do everything again. And I thought I'll make a little series out of this. I know people are kind of sick of the old stuff and sick of going back to the beginning, but I'm more confused now. I have more problems with every theory now than I did at the beginning. Like, I don't know whether I've just become so, I don't know, demoralized or starting to lack hope that anything will ever happen in this case, or whether I'm just second guessing everything, and that's a good thing. Thank you for the $1.99. It's very kind. I actually think second guessing yourself is a very healthy thing to do. Like question everything and everyone. I think it's healthy rather than being just stuck on one theory and not being able to get past it. Exactly. But I've gone back to the beginning with this case so many times. And it's just sometimes it's just like doing that June 15th. I was listening to interviews that I hadn't heard since they were first played. And it's surprising what you forget. Just the little things that you thought you knew and then you don't. You know, you just think, oh yeah, I remember that now. But you wouldn't have, you know, it's just not there immediately. I know what I mean anyway. So we've had 165 votes and we've got 1 more minute to go. And this is very close. Very close. $166 votes. You've literally got seconds left to vote now. That is so close. That's really interesting. I'm getting ready to write the results down. Production. All right. Okay, poll is ended. So 168 votes and end poll. There you go. So accident cover-up just won 34%. And then abduction by a known person 32%. Wandered away 22%. And then murdered 10%. 170 votes. Interesting. So accident, cover-up and abduction by a known person are the two most popular theories. I really hope she is G Crime. I really hope she is. I really hope she is. Yeah, but they've also said everything is still on the table. Because they've said there's no evidence of an abduction, there's no evidence that she was trafficked out of the area. And then in the next breath, they say, but everything else is still on the table. So we just don't know. I don't know. Maybe a lot of people thought it was something else. But I don't know. Or some people do what I do. Honestly, I listen to live streams while I'm like doing something else. Like I'll have my AirPods in and I'm listening to it. And if there's a poll, I might not necessarily vote because my phone or my laptop that I'm streaming it from is upstairs and I'm doing something in my garden. Do you know what I mean? So like I listen to a lot of lives, but I don't often appear in the chat. I don't often chat because I'm doing it usually on the replay, to be fair, but I've got it in my ears. So I can understand that. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I have been on a little bit longer than I thought, but I wanted to keep it to under 2 hours so that it's watchable for people on the replay. But I'm going to be back tomorrow. It's most likely going to be the same time tomorrow. And we're going to finish off by trying to link the suspects to the scenarios, consider motives, and we're going to flesh some of these out and say, well, what's the most likely? Like, realistically, what's the most likely? And just brainstorm as many ideas as we can. And once again, creators, if you come upon this, if you've been listening, please feel free. Any of my stuff, not just this, but any of my stuff, you are welcome to use. You're welcome to clip. You're welcome to critique. It's all fair use. I want people to use my stuff, just like I take stuff from people and clip it and add my own thoughts to it. And that's how we should be working. That's how we should be working in a case that's gone on this long. We shouldn't be hating each other. We should be working together. And I understand that people have disagreements, and fair enough, that's life. But please feel free to clip this, take screenshots, do whatever you want with it. As long as you credit me, say it's mine, then that's all I require. All right, guys, thank you so much for being respectful as always. Thank you to Trixie Star. I don't know whether I've had any other mods in, but if I have, as always, thank you to the mods. Thank you for the donations. You are very, very kind. And I will see you same time tomorrow to get this finished off. Bye, guys.